So, classification. For this part of the first part for linear classification, it's highly recommended that you read the chapter 4, at least the section 4.1 of PRML book. So mostly this stuff is discussed very nicely there, and I'll be using the same format for discussion. Okay, so what is classification? We have seen in the past that this is how classification looks like, right? You have let's say two classes here, red roses and blue lotuses, right? These are the height and width, or height and diameter, and this class is lotus, this class is red rose. They are linearly separable, which means I can draw a line, and if I take any unknown point, I can ask this line, which side do I lie? So the line will tell, okay, you are basically the value is greater than 0, then it lies on this side of the line, and I already know that this side is the red rose side, so that's why I can assign this point to red rose class, right? Okay, so now the question is, how do I efficiently learn these M and C, the slope and intercept parameters, right? Okay, let us first look at the geometrical interpretation of this M and C. So, okay, given any point, okay, let me not use this figure for a second. Draw another figure. Okay, so let's say I give you y is equal to, y is a scalar. It is either greater than 0 or less than 0, right? For the two classes, y is a scalar in this case. Y is equal to w vector dot x vector plus w naught. W naught is a scalar. W vector dot x vector. This is same as writing w transpose times x plus some w naught. Right? These two are equivalent, but I am looking at the vector notation because I want to help you understand the geometrical interpretation of this linear separator. So now if I give you any unknown point, so basically y is a function of x, my y is a function of x vector, right? Because w is fixed. My y as a function of x vector is w vector dot x vector plus w naught. Now if I give you some, let's start with an example. Let us say my w is something -1, 2, and my x is, okay, let me see, if w is, okay, we have x is x1, x2, and let's say w naught is, let's say 2. How will this line look like? How will the line look like? How will you proceed? How will this line look like? How will you go about it? Means, can you plot this line on x1, x2 plane? Oh, it's simple. Just, you know, the equation of the line is y of x vector is equal to 0, right? And I can say minus x1 plus twice of x2 plus 2 is equal to 0, right? Then, okay, in this case, When my x1 is 0, x2 is minus 1. X1 is 0, x2 is minus. This is one intercept, right? This is one intercept. And then when my x2 is 0, x1 is 2. So the equation of line is something like this. The line looks, sorry for my bad drawing. Let's say this is the 2. This is the minus 1. Okay. This is how the line looks like, right? Now, if I give you any unknown point, say this point, maybe this is 4, 1 or something. If this is x vector is equal to 4, 1. What is the distance of this point from this line? How will you find it? Simple geometry. If I put that point in the equation of the line, then divide by the mod of w. Oh, it's written on. Don't look at the solution. Okay, fine. So I have already written the solution there, but okay, in case you don't know. So okay, let us start from this thing. What is the distance of this line, the perpendicular distance of this line from origin? So the geometrical interpretation of this w vector is that it is a direction perpendicular to the line. How do you find that? How do you find that? Because, okay. Let us say I have 1y of x1 vector is equal to something, another y of x2 vector is equal to basically w vector dot x2 vector plus w naught, w vector dot x1 vector plus w naught. And you know, both these, let us say both these points lie on the line. Sorry. Let us say this was my line. Let us say both of these points lie on the line. Then both of these are equal to 0, right? And you can say x1 vector minus x2 vector, if you subtract the two equations, is equal to 0, right? My w vector dot x1 minus x2 is equal to 0. Now what is this vector x1 dot x2? This is this vector, right? This vector is x1 minus x2. So this means that w vector is always perpendicular to the line joining any 2 points, or the vector joining any 2 points on this line, right? So this is my w vector. This is the geometrical interpretation of w, and the distance of this line from the origin is very simple. If you put okay, how do I go about it? Okay, it means the simple solution is w vector dot 0 plus w naught divided by w1 square plus w2 square under root. So this is the distance of the line from the origin, and if you want to find any general point, it is very simple. You can break this point into, I have explained it here, let's say any general point. So, okay, distance of the line from the origin is, take any point and you have to find the perpendicular distance. It is just the dot product with the perpendicular vector. So, w hat which is unit vector in perpendicular to the line, dot x vector, this is the distance from the origin, and distance of any general point x vector from the line is basically distance of that point from basically you take this point, and just like you did for the origin, you do it for this point, that you take the distance of you take any general point okay. You take that point and find its distance from the line in the perpendicular direction, which means the direction w hat. So let us say this is the perpendicular distance of this point from this line, and this point you need to find. This point, let's say some x dash vector which lies on the line, means at this point the y of x dash vector is equal to 0. So I want to find the distance of x vector from this line, so I will say x vector minus x dash vector dot w hat. This is the distance from this line. And now you know that x dash vector dot w hat or dot w vector plus w naught is equal to 0, because this point lies on this line, right? So this means x vector dot x dash vector dot w hat is equal to w naught upon basically norm of w, right? So this thing becomes minus of this thing, which becomes equal to x vector dot w hat minus, or which becomes plus w naught upon w vector, right? So this is equal to x vector dot w vector plus w naught divided by norm of w, which is basically y of x divided by norm of w. Okay. I think you have done this derivation sometime in the past, but just reiterating, because this geometrical interpretation is very important and it will help you to understand more and more complex networks, neural networks. Okay, so this was about linear classifiers. That this is the geometrical interpretation of the separator and how much distance of a point is from this separator. I can maybe share why I'm discussing in so much detail. So I was working on a problem on designing a classifier for some different kind of data, and so I designed a new kind of distance function, a new kind of geometry, a new kind of loss function, means for training the thing, the error function. And finally I found that my network is not training properly. My network, when I implemented everything on the platform, the Keras platform, it was not training properly. My weights were converging, but the performance was not good at all. And then I went back to geometrical interpretation. Why is this happening? And then this is the interpretation, or this is the kind of analysis which helped me to understand my mistake, which was preventing the network from giving a good performance. So the reason was that I had normalized my weights and normalized my inputs. So my x vector dot w vector always became a dot product, which always lies between -1 to +1, right? That's why my network was not converging, because the range is very small. The distance of the point from the line can be only +1 or -1, right? And I was using sigmoid function or something later, which means I'm operating in a very narrow domain of the sigmoid function, right? So it was not showing saturation, it means the learning was not happening. So what can I do? So I introduced an extra term, multiplied this with an alpha, which will take care of the scaling, that how much do I want to scale so that I have a sufficient dynamic range on the sigmoid function. Okay. If this is too complicated, just ignore it, but take this point that the geometrical interpretation becomes very useful when you work on some real problems, when you design your own classifiers and things like that. Okay. Okay, now we have discussed about two-class classifier, right? It's called a binary classifier or two-class classifier, where we are classifying just two classes. So how did I do it? I just assigned a single scalar y, which could be 0 or 1. If it is 0, it is one class. If it is 1, it is the other class, right? But what if I have more than one classes? If I have, let's say, 3 classes, I have red roses, blue lotuses, and purple jasmines. So how do I take care of this problem now? So very simple solution is, you use something which you already have. You have a binary classifier. Why don't you use the binary classifier to classify 3 classes, right? So you design 3 binary classifiers in this way. One classifier classifies red roses from everything else. Other classifier classifies blue lotuses from everything else. The third classifier classifies the purple jasmines from everything else. Is this a valid solution? Is this a valid solution? Yes, it is a valid solution, and it does make sense. Let us examine this solution now. So let us say if my unknown point is somewhere, if my unknown point is somewhere here. Let's say I have 3 classifiers, y red, y blue, and y purple, right? If my point, so the target value is 1 if it is actually red rose and 0 if it is not a red rose. This one is 1 if it is actually a blue lotus and 0 if it is not a blue lotus. This one is 1 if it is a purple jasmine and 0 if it is not a purple jasmine, right? Okay, let us say these are ideal classifiers. If my point lies here, what will be the output of the y vector, right? This is a vector. Huh? Everybody is clear with this point? The output will be 1, 0, 0, right? What if it lies here? Oh, okay. What if it lies here? 0, 0, 1. What if it lies here? Huh? 0, 1, 1. What does that mean? It means your classifier is confused between 2 classes. Okay. What if the point lies here? Zero, 0, 0. So, is this a good classifier? It hardly knows anything, right? If point is here, it can clearly say it is a red. If it is here, it is purple. If it is here, it is blue. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4 regions which it is not able to classify properly. So this is not a good approach, right? Okay. Can we try something else? Huh? Pardon? Probability distribution. Okay. This is another option. We'll come to your answer. This is 1 versus 1 classifier. What does that mean? Okay, I know I cannot separate red from everything else, but I can take pairs of data and design classifiers for those pairs, and then based on their decisions I can take my overall decision, right? Something like this. Let us say this classifier classifies red from purple, so which means that for this y, the value is 1 if it is red, value is 0 if it is purple. Okay, let me say y rp, right? Another is y purple versus blue, which is this line. This is y purple versus blue, this is y red versus purple, and this line is y blue versus red. So if my point is red, okay, let me first write down this purple versus blue and y blue versus red. Again a vector, right? So now you tell me if the point lies here, what is the outcome? One, zero, huh? Pardon? No, it has to be 0 if it is a red rows, right? Because blue versus red will be 1 if it is blue and 0 if it is red, right? So it lies on this side of the line, which is red side of the line, therefore it has to be 0, right? Huh? What about purple, blue? Yes, you are right. This point will be don't care. This can be anything. So it could be any value, we don't care. How does it know that? Okay, we'll come back to this point. Let us first discuss these 3 regions. So what is the value here? Y red purple will be 0 for sure. Y purple blue will be 1 for sure. And Y blue red will be anything, right? What if the point is here? If the point is here, then it will be red purple will be anything, purple blue will be 0, and blue red will be 1, right? So once you get some values, is there any ambiguity here? There should not be. If it is, let us say I get my final value as 110, right? Where will it belong to? It can only belong to the first class, the red class, right? And if it is 100, then again it belongs to the first class only. So there is no ambiguity, right? For both the vectors it belongs to red only. So when the class is red, then this will happen. When the class is purple, then it could be 0, 1, 0 or 0, 1, 1. And when the class is blue, then it could be 0, 0, 1 or 1, 0, 1. Right? There is no ambiguity, there is no overlap, even if we have a don't care condition. Okay. So, are we safe in all the regions? Are we safe in all the regions then? Good point. There is some small region here. What about this point? Huh? It will be, so let us say with respect to YRP, this will be 1, very good. With respect to YPB, 1. With respect to YBR, huh? Okay, so this is the problematic point, right? I don't have any, I can't map it to any class, right? Yeah. So which means that your classifier cannot give you any answer for this point, which is not good, right? So which means if your point lies in this region, then your classifier fails. It says, I cannot answer. Of course, it does not give a wrong answer, but it simply says, I cannot answer. So, and you cannot do anything about it, right? What will you do? You cannot improve your classifier because intrinsically or by design or it cannot do better. Not because it is not properly trained, but just because the inherent structure does not allow it to classify these points. Okay. So this may give us some idea what is a good separator for multi-class problem, linear separator basically for multi-class problems. Huh? Linear classifier. Yes, so basically we want to make this region to be non-existent or zero, right? These three lines should become like this, right? This region should vanish. How do we do that? How do we do that mathematically? Okay, so we can get a hint from here. So with red, this is always 1. With purple, the second is always 1. With blue, the third one is always 1. The problem appears only when all of them become 1. Right? So what we can do is, can we design a classifier like this? That my y is equal to let's say argmax of yc. Let us say my c is equal to my actual class, my predicted class, sorry, not actual but predicted class is equal to argmax of yc over c. What is c? C can be here purple, blue or red, or red, purple or blue. Right, okay. So whichever class, like I have this vector yr, yp, yb. Let us say this is my this line is my yr, this line is my yp, this line is my yp. So if this is maximum, means if this is close to 1, then I will take this class to be red. If this is close to 1, or basically out of these three, whichever is maximum, I will take that class as my solution. So this is how the classifier will look like, and it will have no ambiguity. It will give me an answer always. There is only one possibility when it may not give me an answer, and that possibility is very, very improbable when two values are exactly same. Like at least two values are exactly same, right? Then we cannot decide which is maximum, right? But that possibility is almost non-existent, right? Because it's a continuous space and getting exactly the same value is almost impossible unless you have made some error. Okay. I have written here C belongs to RPB. Huh. Okay, what I'm saying is my yc is a continuous value between 0 to 1. So in that case, getting exactly same value for two tuples will be very unlikely, right? How to calculate yc? We'll discuss that in the next slide. So this is how we calculate yc. My y vector is basically the same linear classifier which we studied in the past, wx plus w naught. So in this case, I have got k classes. Let us say k is 3, as we discussed in the previous example. So I have got, let's say, 3 classes. My y vector is basically, this is for a single sample. So in this case, my y vector will be 3 values corresponding to red, purple and blue, right? And my x is, what is my x? X is 2-dimensional, x1 and x2, right? The width and the height. So my x is 2 cross 1, my y is 3 cross 1. What is my w then? What is my w? Good. And what is my w naught? This is a vector, sorry. W naught is 3 cross 1. Okay. Is the notation clear? My y is a vector. This is for a single sample, a single point. And x is a vector. And in this way, I can obtain my y. Now my y will represent those yc, which we discussed in the previous slide. These yc. Like all these form my y vector. Right? So is this point clear? Are you able to see from the last bench? Is this visible or is it too small? Okay. So now the question is, okay, how do I assign the final class that we have already discussed? My k star or my actual or predicted class is equal to argmax of k y of x, right? My y is k dimensional, so I can write it like this: y0, y1, so on up to y capital K. Let's say we have k, capital K classes, which is 3 here. Can I represent it element wise as yk? So I can say yk of x, and I can represent everything as element wise now. So what is w vector k? This is so originally I had the w matrix. I extracted the kth row, and I can call it as wk transpose. And the kth element of w naught vector, this is the w naught comma k. So basically I have broken down my vector representation into element wise representation with the index k, which is going over all the elements, right? Is this clear? This is very important. Is this clear?
If I want to relate this equation with the notation on the previous slide, so is it necessary that y of x should lie between 0 and 1?
Good question. in this case, my y is not constrained to lie between 0 and 1. And this is the major problem with this approach. Thank you for pointing it out. Then what should we do? So basically we have got 3 classes and I'm like lighting 3 bulbs. Whichever bulb is glowing with the maximum brightness, you say that is the answer. Okay. So this is a nice interpretation that you have got 3 bulbs. So whichever bulb is lighting the brightest, that is your answer. How do we train the weights? How do we train the weights? You can use a loss function called the squared error loss or the least squares. Basically, this is squared error loss is your target value with respect to x minus y with respect to x. This is your error. And of course, you sum over all the samples, right? You sum them over all the samples. This is your least square loss. And if you optimize, we have seen previously different approaches to optimize this least squares loss. We have seen, this squared loss. We have seen the least squared approach, which looks like this. And it is applicable if number of data points is larger than the number of parameters, the unknown w's, right? And then if the number of parameters is larger than the number of samples, we use minimum norm approach, min norm solution, right? We basically add an regularization term, right? By changing the error function to, instead of mean squared error, we use L1, minimum L1 error, right? And we add the normalization, the regularization term, which minimizes the W values as well, right? We have seen that. We have also seen ridge regression, lasso, all these things we have seen too, right? So basically, all those methods can be used to find the optimal values of weights. Okay. Now there is a problem. What is the problem? The problem is that if my classes lie somewhere like this, let's say I have red stars here and my blue lotuses somewhere here, and I design my classifier, it will be very nicely trained. It will separate the two very nicely, right? My line will come out to be well separating the two classes, right? But there is a problem. If the range of one class becomes large, then this classifier becomes very bad. This classifier becomes, sorry, this classifier becomes very bad. So basically there are many points which also are lying here because of these points. Can anybody tell me why is that happening? It may be connected to, I'm not saying they are outliers, it may be connected to. Why is that happening? Yes, because I am using least squares approach. So these points the error on these points is very large. Why? Because I am trying to compare, like, remember my t vector, which let me write it in terms of element notation, tk minus yk norm square, right? I know my tk is always either 0 or 1, right? For classification problem, my tk is always 0, 1. So let us say even for binary classifier, it will be, let us say, 0 for blue points, or let us say 1 for blue points and 0 for red points. Okay, so my tk will be 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. Now if my yk is larger than 1, 5, 4, 6, and this one is, let us say, close to 0, no problem. What will happen? This error function will still get a very large value, and it does not know that these points are actually correctly classified, right? Because these are actually like greater than 1 or whatever, right? Remember the distance interpretation. Okay, let us say we can call this -1 also, no problem, just for the sake of understanding. This is -1.1, -1.2, -1.1. Okay, so these points are fine. These points also are ideally fine because they lie on the same side of the line, but my error function is poorly designed, so much so that it sees the point which is very far from it, even if on the right side, as a mistake. So somebody, as you pointed out, what's your name? Omkar. As Omkar pointed it out, that the distance is not taken care of by this method. So that becomes problematic. Then what do we do? What do we do then? Can we normalize yk so that it always lies between +1 and -1? How do we do that? Maximum value? Okay, if you divide it by the maximum value, even then your range will become something like this. So let's say this is your -1, this is your +1. Even then, you do not want your classifier at 0. You want your classifier at an offset. Divide by? Yeah, after doing that, you will get something like this. What he has done is divided by the maximum value, maximum distance, okay, let us say. So, whatever it is. Yes. That is a good solution. That you ignore the samples which are already well classified. Or in other words, you clip their distances to 1. If something is greater than 1, make it 1. Clipping, so that it does not pull the separator too much towards itself. Does that make sense? So, okay, let us go through it, go over it once again. So these are the points which are very far from the separator, but on the right side. But since our error function does not take care of which side it is, but just compares the absolute values, so it is thinking, the error function is thinking, these are also erroneous points because they do not match 1, because I want my output to match 1, right? So that is why the separator gets pulled towards these points to minimize the error, to reduce the error, so that the overall error is minimized, right? So that is why this function is not very well designed. But if I design something like this, let us say tk minus some function of yk, it is such that if yk is greater than 1, it is clipped to 1. Can you think of a function which does that? Sigmoid function. Very good. Sigmoid function, what does it do? If this is my yk and this is my f of yk, so it will be something like this. So if my yk is very, very large, even then the fyk will be clipped to 1. So this is a good option. Okay, if you are using tk as 0 and 1, then this is a good option. But if you are using tk as -1 and +1, then you have to do some scaling, for which you can also use a hyperbolic tangent function, right, which lies between -1 and +1, but looks similar to a sigmoid function.
Why can't we just use the sine function that it just looks at the sine +1 or 1?
Yes, okay, let us come back to that. Okay, the question is, why can't I use simply SIGN, sine function? Can we use a sine function? Basically, if it is a positive direction, then call it +1. If it is negative direction, call it -1. Then you compare tk and yk, and you will get 0 loss. This is not SINE, this is SIGN, signum, or the direction or sign. If the point is very close to the line, then the basic problem is it is not differentiable, right? At 0 it has a sharp jump. So the slope is 0 at all points except at 0. So you cannot use gradient descent algorithm to train it. Whose suggestion was this? Is it clear why this won't work? We discussed in the beginning itself what are good properties of a nonlinearity. It should be differentiable. Otherwise, we cannot use gradient descent algorithm. So, non-differentiable. But we can use some other algorithm to train it, if not gradient descent. That algorithm is called, I think it's called perceptron training algorithm, which you can use. It does not depend on the gradient. So that may be a good reading assignment. So go to PRML book, Bishop's book, and maybe I will post the exact section number on perceptron algorithm. I think it's in the 5th chapter, neural networks chapter. Read that, and maybe we'll include it in our course curriculum. So if anybody is not happy, Nishant is to be blamed. No, not to be blamed. It's a good algorithm. It was a revolutionary algorithm which actually brought in the concept of neural network and made it very famous, right? So thanks to Nishant. Next, what we have? Okay, next we have nonlinear classifiers, which we'll be doing in the next class. Thank you.